going. Yeah, so this wasn't a question that was asked. This is more of a salute, I guess, to a fellow individual who was able to change his life around. And from this video, hopefully you'll be able to pick up little bits and pieces that you're going to be able to kind of introduce into your lives if you're trying to level up in like the self-development area of your life, basically. So one of the statements he made, or what he was basically talking about, his story, and he was like, I used to smoke weed all the time, I was really lazy, eating a lot of unhealthy food, etc., and I changed my life around. And I've experienced that to a certain extent myself with my own problems, and the turning, I guess you could say, over of a new leaf. And I'm going to kind of basically walk through a couple of the steps that allowed me to do that, so you get an idea of what's allowed me to go from quite a dark place where I was stuck in my own head, always had potential but was never able to really utilize it, to a place now where I'm a lot clearer in thoughts, a lot more out of my own head, and a lot more able to achieve and start realizing the visions that I have for my future. So the first thing that was really important for me was to basically accept that I did not know everything, that I knew very little, and that to be able to improve at an exponential rate, which is always something that's kind of been in my head, less so in recent times, but to be able to improve quicker than I would be able to improve purely from trial and error, I need to accept that there are people out there who know more than me. One of the books that has been very, very, very important in my life, and I've listened to it as an audio book, and I've listened to it at least 200 times, if that. Yeah, at least 200 times for sure. Because I used to listen to it to and from going to work and etc. It's only about 15 minutes long, and the book is called As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. And it's all about basically how our thoughts dictate our actions, which then dictate our habits, which then dictate our character. And I was at a point in my life where I was feeling really low. I didn't know what was the point in life, etc., etc., etc. And my character was in a pretty terrible place. And through listening to As a Man Thinketh, and through internalizing it over the years, basically, I've been able to kind of get to the root cause of a lot of my character flaws that I had in the past, and start developing traits that I want to have, and the benefits that have then come from that. So in regards to this question, in this statement specifically, I was able to change my life around by basically, one, taking responsibility and saying, right, well, I don't like this about my life, I don't like that about my life, I don't like this about my life. Well, how am I going to make a change? Cool. I'm not sure how I'm going to make a change, so I'm going to accept that I don't know the answer to this, but I'm going to go to someone more knowledgeable who may have the answer to this. I started listening to As a Man Thinketh, and I started to become more aware, basically, of my thoughts, of my actions, and the reasons behind them. Once I was consistently being introspective in terms of looking at my own thoughts and actions, I was then able to then decide, well, what goals do I want to achieve? What do I actually want out of life? Because I felt like at that point I was doing a whole lot of stuff that was not genuinely what I wanted to do, but there was some value in it in some way, but it wasn't genuinely what I wanted to do. So maybe it was a monetary value, right? Maybe it was sexual value, whatever it was, but it wasn't genuinely what I wanted. And I basically had to sit down with myself and say, I want to write down what I genuinely want, and I want to go after it. Simple as that. And one of the most interesting points that kind of rings through my mind every time I listen to As a Man Thinketh is that I had a really unhealthy relationship with failure for many years in my life. And then once I heard this quote, once I started internalizing it, it really changed things for me. And it was that failure only exists when you have doubt and fear. Once you've conquered doubt and fear, failure does not exist anymore, because failure, or how most people think of failure, then turns into a lesson basically that allows you to get one step closer to realizing your vision. So if we're talking about how I changed my life around and the steps that this person's probably taken to change their life around, maybe not in the same way in terms of they listen to As a Man Thinketh, then they set their goals, etc. It may have been a slightly different setup, but the core principles are the same, which is basically you take a step back, you ask yourself, well, what do I actually want in life? And then you start taking conscious action towards realizing that vision. Because if you're not doing that, you are going to start spiraling from time to time. You are going to feel like there's no purpose. And once you feel like a rudderless ship, that's the beginning of a lot of trouble. So take a step back, select something that you want to do, and then start making baby steps towards that each day, towards making it a reality. Cool. Just before I finish this as well, do not forget self-love though. You have to have self-love on this journey. If you do not have self-love on this journey, it's going to be extremely painful, and it's not going to empower other people to want to go after their dreams and their visions as well. Show self-love to yourself. Why? Because it will make the journey more enjoyable, and it will also awaken other people to the belief that they can also go after their dreams as well. Cool. Take it easy. Peace.